Hey y'all, welcome back to the Let's Talk podcast. This is the third
Yep.
podcast episode, and today we're joined with a very special guest, author of the Church of Now,
We don't have to get
associate
into all that.
pastor, former youth minister. You've been here
6 years,
6 years now.
almost.
So today we're joined with Matt Mangrum. First we had John, and then we had myself, and we thought it'd be a good idea to reverse this. Now today I get to grill Matt Mangrum with some questions. So excited for this one. So you said you've been here 6 years,
Yep.
right? Obviously we've seen a lot of church growth recently, a lot of new people. For those who kind of don't know, tell us your faith upbringing story and how you first sensed that call to go into ministry.
Yeah, I grew up in a ministry family. I know I mentioned that a couple weeks ago on stage, but um, my grandfather, pastor for 50 years, my great grandfather, pastor for 50 years. It's kind of been in my blood. Um, Growing up as a kid, we went to my grandfather's church, which was a very old school style, traditional. They didn't have a youth group or nothing. Um, but we would go as a family. And then when I was in sixth grade, uh, gave my life to Christ. Dad rededicated his life the same night at my grandfather's church, which was kind
Mm,
of cool. And then my brother, who had been invited to go sing on the worship team at Central Christian in Bristol, said, "Hey, you're in sixth grade now. You need to come to youth group," because again, my grandfather's church didn't have that. And so I decided, okay, yeah, that sounds good. And pretty much from there throughout high school, I was at church like any chance that I could get. Going to TCTC, going
mm,
to Wednesday night youth group and all those things, and just trying to get as involved as I could, and trying to figure out, okay, what does this look like? I knew I wanted to be around. My brother was on staff at that church a couple years into there, into going, and so just cool experience there. And then it was sophomore year of high school where I decided that I was going to go into full time ministry. I knew I would do something. I mean, I was 15 years old when I spoke for the first time at a youth
mm.
thing, and it was the worst thing ever. It was supposed to be like 10 minutes. It was at a bonfire with a couple other youth groups, and I think it was about 2 minutes. Just because I was so nervous. But it was moments like that that challenged me. And thank God that my youth minister at the time was like, "Yeah, you're going to get up there and speak," because it helped me get to where I am now. But that was freshman year, I think that happened, and then it was my sophomore year where I decided, hey, I'm going into full time ministry. I was going to go into the sports world, like
Mm.
sports management. I always thought it'd be cool to be an agent. I don't think I have the confrontational ability to do
Mm,
that or to negotiate, but I thought it'd be kind of fun, or be an athletic director or something. Um, but it was sophomore year at CIY that they do a big call like, hey, if you feel like you're led to full time ministry, you stand up, and that was me. And I knew it was probably happen at some point just because I grew up in that kind of family. But from there on out, it was there going through my senior year of high school, knowing I was going to go to Johnson University, which used to be Johnson Bible College, and so went to Johnson, got a degree in church leadership and youth
mm.
ministry and Bible and preaching and all that fun stuff. And then that was graduated in 2020, which is not the best time to graduate because of COVID. Um, but for some reason, a church decided to hire a youth minister in the middle of COVID that just graduated college, and I ended up here
Mm.
June 1st of 2020. So June 1st is coming up on 6 years. So just been cool to see how things have gone. I know we'll talk more about what's happened here over the last couple of years, but
Yeah,
um, it's been awesome. That's kind of the journey to where we are
for sure. Yeah, and that's a great story, and we're very blessed
now.
that you're here. So tell us, I mean, youth ministry for a long time.
Yep.
6 years is a long stretch. Tell
Yep.
us how life has been for you in
Yeah.
youth ministry these
Yeah.
past 6 years.
And even before that, I was the interim youth minister at Central for seven
Mm,
months
yeah.
while I was in college and traveling back and forth and helping at different youth groups. But yeah, man, 6 years in youth ministry is really cool because typically it's like most people spend about a year and a half in it.
Mm,
And what I've learned is you've got to have multiple years before you can really make an impact or really even figure out what you're trying to do
yeah.
because you first step into it and it's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I think that's most roles, but no, I really enjoyed the 6 years because you build those relationships.
Yeah.
I remember coming in. I met Emma Barnett. You know, she's a senior. She's about to graduate, or she by the time this airs, she will have just graduated.
Yeah.
And I think she was in 6th or 7th grade. And I said, "Man, I want to see Emma graduate before I'm done in youth ministry
That's
because,
cool.
like, that's what I wanted to have was the longevity of it."
Mm,
And so the relationships that were built, the team that we had was really good, and that changes over time. But the heart behind that the church has behind youth ministry is really cool.
mhm.
Um, and just because I'm not in youth ministry anymore doesn't mean that I've changed my thought process on youth.
Yeah.
I'll always advocate and be there for youth. You mentioned the book earlier, The Church of
Yeah.
Now. I mean, that's always something I'm going to have on. But man, I love my time in youth ministry. It just seemed like this was the time to move to a new role. Um,
Yeah.
Give somebody with a little more time and energy than I had to step into it and do that. So
Yeah.
I loved it. I love the last 6 years. I'm excited for what's to come in youth ministry too.
For sure. And I love how you mentioned that you're still going to be around and you're
Yep.
still going to be involved with the students in any way you can. And I wanted to ask, you are moving into the associate minister role, but I wanted to ask, what are some parts of youth ministry maybe that you've learned or done that you can take with you into the new role?
Yeah. Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is fun.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, man.
sometimes we think that ministry or church work can't be fun.
Yeah.
Especially like you get old as an older adult and you're like, "Ah, I'm not going to do
Yeah.
that." But church is supposed to be fun. Like,
Yes.
obviously there's other aspects to it that you want to have, but you've got to have fun. And so we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. Um, but what does it look like for groups to be fun, or what does it look like for teachings to be fun? And you got to have fun in youth ministry. I look at John's role, and he's planning all these events
Oh,
for the
yeah.
seniors that are the older crowd, and I'm like, man, y'all are having more fun than we did in youth ministry. The other aspect is a team. I left. I think I left a really good team in youth ministry to you,
Hmm.
and stepping into a role right now with like groups ministry where I got to build the team. But that's one of the things that I love is having a team bouncing ideas off of. So I'm in the process of doing that, and then just understanding in youth ministry, everybody wants to be seen and known and loved.
For
And
sure.
so that carries over into
Yeah.
every aspect of the ministry that you do. And so as I step into the role in supporting, other ministries, that's what I want to do. So that's kind of it.
Yeah. So obviously any change is hard and any change is a little scary, and you and I are both, and you mentioned John, we're all
Yep.
three kind of going through a new change together in a new role. So what fears might you have moving into a new leadership position that you've never done before?
Right. Yeah. Anything new is scary. I was reading Paul in Second Corinthians this morning, and he was talking about his weakness, and he's like,
Mm,
when I'm weak, God is strong.
mm,
I boast in my weakness because I know God is going to shine through. And that was my experience in youth ministry. It's like I didn't know half the things I was doing, at least to start. Um, and it's a dangerous place if you ever feel like you know what you're doing, because that
yeah.
you get humbled. But anything new is scary. I think leaning into the scary parts and understanding that um, when you lean on God's strength, that really makes the difference.
Yeah.
But also when it comes to fear of stepping into the role, is I've done youth ministry for six
Yeah.
years, and it's one of those things where you can always be better at it. But I could run a playbook off the back of my hand. I just kind of knew, like, here's the schedule. Here, I knew that the school year was going to start at this time. We were going to do this event. We were going to do these weeks. Stepping into a role talking about groups and first impressions and
Hmm.
assimilation and branding, communication, like these are all things that I've somewhat done on staff over the last couple of years because I was kind of doing associate role a little bit too. um, but it almost feels like some of these things are being built from the ground up. Like the
Yeah.
groups ministry, we have a lot of groups that are meeting, um, but there's been no structure to it. Or our first impressions, like Teresa's done a really good job with, helping our greeters and how do we welcome people and do all that. But she can't put all the time in the world into it, and so how do we just enhance it? How do we
Hmm.
make it? How do we make people feel like they're at home from the time they look at our church in their bedroom, or in their living room on their phone, trying to figure out if they want to come, to being connected and involved. So I think a lot of it for me is like building out new systems and new ideas, and hey, how do we do this? So that's the fears, is not knowing how to do some of the things that I've done.
Yeah.
And I've told people, I think the groups thing could take 2 years before we figure out the right way we want to do it. So we'll see. But the fear of stepping into a new role is, you got to learn it all, you know?
Yeah.
So um, it's
Sure.
exciting, but it's also scary.
Yeah. I love that verse that you mentioned. I think that will be such it was an encouragement for me when you just said it. I think it'll be encouragement for anyone who hears that.
Yep.
A guy like Paul who's able to say, "I'm weak,
Yep.
but Christ is strong." And Paul, I mean, we know Paul wrote
Right.
the whole basically the whole New Testament and was like the
Yep.
greatest missionary of all time. So
Yep.
that's a good encouragement. Um, Obviously everybody's excited about this. I'm excited for you. You're excited. The church is excited for this. Really, like you said, this new thing that we
Yeah.
haven't seen in a while.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
The last time we had an associate minister was Evan Wolf,
yeah.
and that, I
Shout
mean,
out Evan.
yep, he was the lead minister for years too. So it's been a
Yeah.
long time. I want to say, I don't know, 10 years
Yeah.
ish. So
Yeah.
just haven't had that kind of focus in a
Sure.
while.
Yeah. So what are you like excited about and looking forward to for this associate ministry? Maybe for you personally or for our
Yeah.
church or for our people?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is getting people into community. Like this church is typically pretty good at welcoming people and doing
Mhm.
that. We can, any church can always be better at loving on people. But getting people into community, helping people um, find their people,
Mm.
because that's what I've learned, is if you can find your people, you're more than likely going to stick around, and your life's just going to be different. Like if you have people you can call on, Brad always talks about the person you can call at 2 a.m. Like if you can find those people,
Mhm.
it changes your life. And so I'm excited to help get people into community with groups. I'm hoping, with some of the first impressions and kind of assimilation stuff, which I know some are kind of weird terms to think through, but really what that means is that we don't lose people in the gaps. Like we
Mm.
get a person that comes for the first week or whatever. We don't want to lose them. We want to help them find community.
Yeah.
And then I think just teaching more, which I've had a lot of opportunities over 6 years to teach, preach on Sunday mornings, teach adults, but uh, teaching adults more. I like that. I
Now
love
that's
teaching.
like your like
Yeah, like
yeah.
that's the focus now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll go back and teach students, every
Oh
once in a
yeah.
while and fill in for you. But
I'm
um,
gonna make you
yep.
like it
And,
or not.
and so I don't know, just a different way of, or different group of people ministering to, and
Yeah,
I don't know, it's just kind of exciting.
for sure, for sure. So your vision, obviously, like our church as a whole, our vision is for this place to be a place to call home, and it's that family aspect
Yep.
where, like you're saying, everyone is involved in these communities and friend groups, and those people who will, you can rely on at
Yep.
any point.
Right.
So what's your vision for like our small groups for
Yep.
our church where that kind of stuff happens? I won't say best,
Right.
but like
Gives
very
opportunities for
effective.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Initially, again, this could change. I've kind of said we're going to commit to this model for a year, see what happens.
Mm,
And there are going to be groups that meet every single week in the year, and that's great. I love that. But when it comes to us providing structure and material for people, we're looking at um, the idea that most people can't commit to 52 weeks a year.
yeah.
Like that's a lot to say. Hey, you got to have a group in your home 52 weeks a year. That's kind of scary. And for me, like with our family right now with two young kids, and I know life's just going to get busier as they get older with sports and all that stuff. Um, like we can't do that, but we could maybe do a semester or two. I think of people that have kids that play baseball, or softball or soccer, and they have games almost every night. It's like, how do you do a group? Well, if you can't do a group in the spring, you can do one in the fall. So the idea
Mm,
is that we'll do two semesters, like semester based groups, and basically each semester you'll have the opportunity to sign up for the same group or a different group, which also is nice because if you don't like your group, then you can get out and go to a new one. Or maybe it's a time thing, or maybe you can't do a Sunday night, you want to do a Wednesday night. So we're trying to figure all that stuff out. But the way that our groups will work, at least initially, is in the fall. We'll have a group launch. We'll do some groups. Those will last 16 weeks. And while we're in the middle of those, there's going to be different things like Labor Day or
Mm,
Thanksgiving or, all those things. We want those groups to be fun. We want you to go out on the lake with each other. We want you to end your group in the fall with, a Friendsgiving, do all
yeah.
that fun stuff. But I think the semester based groups have a chance to work really well. We'll see if it happens, this time next year. But just giving people the opportunity, hey, I'm going to be in community for 16 weeks.
Mhm.
And that runs from August to like end of November, and then it'll go January to like end of April or May. And if groups decide, hey, we love each other, we want to hang out in the summer or in
Yeah.
December, that's great. But that's kind of what we're going to do. But we want people to have fun. I want to do a celebration, like dinner at the end of each groups,
Mm,
and tell stories.
yeah.
Like, hey, here's what this group has meant to me. I've already sent out an email recently and said, hey, what does your group mean? The ones that are already meeting, and I got a lot of response. But being able to have, I envision like a nice dinner. We'll do. It's not like the Dundies, I guess, for
Yeah.
The Office. I guess it could be,
Yeah.
but we'll get up on stage. We'll tell stories. We'll have group leaders talk. We
That's
might
cool.
even do it in a venue that's not at the church. Do a nice catered dinner.
That's cool.
But just try to figure out different ways, different themes,
Yeah.
and then we'll use summer in kind of early January to do some trainings for leaders and all that stuff. But what we learned, I think, especially in COVID, is that you can't do life alone.
Yeah.
And so the vision for groups is just to get people into community.
Yeah.
By the around the time that this um, will release, we'll be heading into June, and we strategically placed a lot of family style events on Wednesday nights
Yeah.
and adult style events so that people can get used to being in community with one
Mm,
another in hopes that they'll join a group in the fall.
yeah.
So just trying to think through all that stuff, but we'll see if that works. I don't know.
Yeah. So let's click on that last part for just a second. Why I'm somebody who loves Sunday morning. Like
Right.
love the worship. You and Brad are always bringing wonderful messages to us. Why is it so important and so like crucial for someone to move from the Sunday morning and get involved whenever the group may be?
Yeah, I think it just gives you another touch point.
Mm,
Like I've been in seasons of life, whether it's having really young kids and it's hard to hang out with
yeah.
people, to being in seasons of life where you can hang out with a different couple or another person, you know, twice a week or what. It just allows you to kind of just feel more human,
Yeah.
like, but when you go from Sunday to investing into another hour or two of your life, um, the good thing about those hour or two is you're surrounding yourself with people that love Jesus. You're surrounding
For
yourself with
sure.
people that want the best for you, because we live in a world where most people aren't thinking about you; they're thinking about themselves. And so, if you can surround yourself with people, couple hours a week outside of just a Sunday morning, which let's be honest, you're coming most of the time you're coming to sit in a seat and listen.
Hmm.
This gives you the opportunity to be with people and have conversation,
Mm,
um, which I think people are lonely. I think
yeah.
we need to solve the loneliness problem, and I think this is
Yeah.
a way that we can do that.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's so important that you're surrounding yourself with good friends for sure. So for somebody who's looking forward to this and looking to be involved in a group, how does and how can our church help someone go from, just the Sunday morning to deeper into the groups or
Yep.
whatever is going
Yeah.
to be
Yeah. Yeah.
happening with your role
Yeah. I
here?
think a lot of it's just being a welcoming person.
Yeah,
We have some really good people at our church that are very welcoming. Again, can we be better at it? Of course we can.
sure.
Every single day, we kind of got to remind ourselves, hey, we need to be more welcoming because we don't want anybody to not be seen.
Yeah,
And so we want people to come in. So I heard a pastor say the other day. They said churches often think they're friendly, but usually they're friendly to each other, not outsiders.
yeah,
Um, and
mm,
it's just a good reminder for us. And so being a welcoming person, and then I think if we can just train our people to understand, a lot of times people will come up and say, "Hey, what do I do?" Like, okay, I've been coming for 2 weeks. What do I do now? Our goal, first of all, I want to connect with them. That's part of my role now. But we want to point people to our pathway class, because it's in the pathway class where people figure out what kind of church is this. They may get in there and say, "Oh, I don't want to be here," or they may get in there and say, "I love it. This is my place." But point people to pathway, because from there, that's where they'll hear about the groups that are meeting. They'll hear about serve teams that they can be a part of, ministry teams, but that's what we want our church members to do when somebody says, "Hey, what do I
yeah,
do next?" hey, you need to get connected to Pathway, and we're working on ways to make that a little more seamless and easy. Um, but if you're out there and you're trying to figure out how can I help welcome people well, if people are asking those questions, hey, get them to Pathway.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take you a little bit back here. I'm
Okay.
gonna rewind your clock to when you were a youth minister and I was one of your students.
Yep.
So I came to youth, kind of on and off, more off than on.
Yep.
But one of the big reasons for that was I was always intimidated or scared of the small group part,
Right.
and you knew that.
Yep.
Um, and probably just guessing that may be the case for some older people
Yep.
who it's intimidating to be a
Right.
part of a small group. And even for me still, I'm still like,
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
So, for people who may feel that intimidation or just a little scared or nervous to be a part of a small group, what would be your piece of encouragement or your piece of advice for
Yeah.
for the crew like myself,
Yeah. First of all, I'd say those feelings are valid because
Yeah.
I mean, there's sometimes where I'm like, I don't know if I want to be a part of this or whatever. But what I've learned is that sometimes you just have to dive in and see what it's like. Um, because usually it's on the other side of like the awkward thing you're scared of that life really happens. And that's not just groups; that's a lot of things in life. But here's what I would challenge people with: is try it for a semester.
Mm,
That's one of the reasons we have it in semester based groups too, because a lot of people feel stuck once they get in a group. If they meet every single week, then it's awkward to remove yourself because it's like these are people that you talk to every single week. And so I would say commit to a semester and then make your decision. See if getting into that community um, doesn't make your life better. Um, but I would also say if you get through that semester and you don't like your group, commit to another one. See if it works.
yeah.
Um, I just think it's important to dive in and just see what happens. I
Yeah.
get it; it can be scary,
Sure.
um, but there's not many times where I've got 2 young kids, and sometimes it's easier to be at the house by ourselves, Maddie and I, and, like, just not go out or try to be with other people just
Hmm.
because life's crazy and hectic, we wanna just relax. But I've noticed for us that when we make the conscious decision to say, "Okay, we might be a little more tired because 'cause we're hanging out with people late at night the next day," but it's always worth it.
Hmm.
It's always worth it. So, my challenge would be dive in and see.
Yeah.
Commit to a semester, see what
Yeah.
happens.
I would say the same thing too. Every time, like, I would, you know, get up, muster up the courage to show up for a small group night, I never regretted coming
Right, right.
because, that initial nerve to step through the door is tough. But once you do it,
Yep,
I mean, I had a great time always.
yeah.
Um, okay. So our church has two pastors on staff now. For some people,
Many pastors, but yeah, I
yeah,
know, most
yeah,
people will think lead and associate, but
yeah.
yeah.
So for some people, they may be like, how does that work?
Yep.
So, in what ways does the associate pastor differ from the lead pastor? And then, well, I'll let you answer that, and then I'll
Yeah.
give you the second question.
Yeah, I just do what Brad tells me to do. I mean, that's it.
Yeah,
That's what I'm supposed
yeah,
to do. No, I think a lot of it is, Brad's gonna have a lot more of the teachings. I mean, that's
sure,
gonna happen. He's gonna be up there most Sundays. Um, but I think the difference there, especially in mine and Brad's case, just because we have different gifts,
yeah,
I'll be more of like the behind the scenes administrative side, and so I'll work a lot more with Teresa on making sure people
sure,
are followed up with, and trying to work different systems and how to do that. And really, it's just a support role. I'll have things that I own, but there are going to be moments where Brad's like, "Hey, I need help with this. Like,
yeah,
this is what I need to do." So Brad is more gonna be the face, and he would
sure,
he
yeah,
would hate that. He would hate me saying that because he doesn't care about that. But that's how most people associate
yeah,
the lead pastor role as the guy that's over the church. Also, um, Brad makes more of the decisions, and so
mhm.
which hey, if Brad makes a bad decision, not me, right? No, I'm just kidding. Go to Brad, not me. But no, usually we do make a lot of decisions together. But he is the final say in those, obviously
Yeah,
with our elders and all that stuff too.
yeah,
So more behind the scenes, kind of a
sure,
support role.
yeah,
And we'll see how that develops. There may be other things that come up
yeah.
with that too.
And we do have a lot of pastors and ministers on staff, but it's cool because you and Brad are like working
Yeah.
like directly together, which we all work together. But
Right.
you know what I mean. You and Brad are like doing this thing
Yeah.
together.
Right.
How do you support? Because there's great potential in that, especially you and Brad with
Right.
your different gifts, coming together. How do you support, Brad in a role like this?
Yeah, just like I mentioned, it is those different gifts, and we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
He says, "Hey, this isn't my gifting. I can't do this, but you can do this."
Yeah.
And I think kind of just knowing the roles, knowing the
Sure.
lanes, and I think part of it is not trying to do something that the other does well,
Mm,
or overstepping or whatever.
right.
So yeah, it's just being in that support role, um, doing anything that we can to serve one another. I
Yeah,
think is huge.
for sure. So, what are you kind of hoping to see happen
Yep.
in the church with this new staff position? I mean, like I said, everyone's excited for this.
Yep.
It's going to be cool to see what comes of it. What are you hoping for to see
Yeah.
happen in this position?
We talk about this a lot. We want everybody in our church to be serving in a group. So life group, ministry team, Sunday group, Sunday school. We want everybody not just to come on Sunday morning and sit, but be doing something too. And we think that's biblical. It's not just coming to sit. You've actually got to have action to it.
Yeah.
And there's always work to do there, but I think that that's huge. And so my hope is that in this new role is helping activate that a little bit. Also, another thing that's kind of a part of my role, but not officially yet, is developing kind of a training leadership program.
Hmm.
We've done internships over the last couple of
Hmm.
years. That's been awesome. I've loved being a part of that. But what does it look like to train up, you know, future ministers? What does it look like to do internship programs? What does it look like to partner with colleges? And
Yeah.
there's programs out there now where you can earn a degree while you're working on staff. And just creating that culture. What does it look like for everybody in our church to pour into somebody?
Yeah.
So those are kind of the two big things. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into that,
For sure.
but that's some things that I'm looking forward to.
Heck yeah. So, all right. Well, for our church, give us like a final, remark. Give us
Yep.
an encouragement. Take
Y-
us out of here, man.
There you
Take us
go.
home.
Yeah, I think the big thing is um, just be in prayer. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one of those things that Paul talks about is, hey, you can't do it in your weakness, and oftentimes we're very weak, but it's in those weaknesses where we lean
Mm,
on God, and His strength shows up. And I think we've seen that, with the way that the church has grown over the last couple of years. We've got three new staff members in new positions that are all learning something within the last like 3 months. And so be in prayer for us because I mean we're
yeah.
stepping into these roles trying to figure out how to best serve our church. And so yeah, I think that's what I would say is be in prayer because there's a lot of really good things happening right now at our church. And I know Satan would love to take it out.
For sure.
And so be in prayer for our staff and our leadership, making sure we're making the right decisions, leaning on God. Um, because we need a praying church,
Yeah.
that is supporting and being there for its people. So that's what I'd have to say.
Yeah. Well, Matt, we're excited. We're looking forward to all that God's going to do through not just the associate ministry, but through everything that's new and coming up
Yeah.
in the life of our church. And like Matt said, pray for us as we pray for you.
Yep.
Looking forward to it. It's
Yep.
going to be great. See you guys.